Lightning like Steve McQueen. I'm in the fast lane when the light turns green. And I built tough, I ain't nothing but grit. Cause I made rugged blood, sweat, and spit. Yeah, like a horse I fly. Better push yourself in for a bumpy ride. I like to play hard, but I work harder. And I weather the storm cause I'm built stronger.
What is up, ladies and gentlemen? We are back. We are live. It is the Freight Coach Morning Show, the top morning show in transportation, coming to you guys every single weekday, 8:30 a.m. Pacific, 10:30 Central, to break down some industry headlines, and most importantly, provide some actual insight into what you can do with all of this information. If this is your first time tuning in, welcome. This is the real side of freight, ladies and gentlemen. And I say that before every single show. And what I mean by that is I only speak to transportation professionals on this show, as well as my twice-a-week long-form podcast, because I want to talk to the right individuals who have done what you're looking to do or who are currently doing what you're trying to achieve. So you can take it, apply it, utilize it, and see a meaningful difference in your business and your life. It is Wednesday. No, it's Tuesday, Wednesday today? Shit, I don't even know what day of the week it is. It's Wednesday. And yeah, you guys, we got a guest coming on here, and we're going to talk about kind of like what's going on in the finance world, right? Like I know interest rates, there's literally a meeting happening right now about what the feds are going to do with interest rates and everything. And, you know, we're going to talk about securing financing and business and all of that stuff. But before I bring him up, Corey Buchan, happy May Day, y'all. And but hey, just one quick reminder, you guys. Friday, I'm going to be going live actually at 8 a.m. Central because I'm going to be at SPI's event out in Nashville, Tennessee for the agent conference, which they call Rendezvous. So I'm going to be going live at 8 a.m. on Friday. And then also, you guys, I released a newsletter. All right, we got it out there. Just go to thefreightcoach.com to register for it. I'm not going to automatically upload all of my contacts into that because I think that's kind of annoying when people do it to me. So I'm not doing it to any of you. So if you guys want a once a week newsletter on the transportation industry, which drops every Friday, go to thefreightcoach.com to check it out. All right, you guys, without further ado, I'm going to bring my man, James Courier, back on the show. James, what is up?
Jolly, one of my favorites. Thanks for having me again.
No, dude, it's always a blast, man, because it's like I am, you know, what you have and what like on the side of the industry that you're working on is it's like it's so foreign to me, and I'm learning it as I go, right? Because when it comes down to like securing financing, business loans, business credit, all of that stuff, I think there's almost a limited understanding of how it actually kind of goes. And, you know, and that's one of the main reasons why my friends over at Denim, we're doing a Financial Friday once a month to really like put information out there to help people kind of build their business credit up. How do they secure lines of credit, factoring, all of that stuff to, you know, to bring some financial literacy into the business world? Because, you know, the fact of the matter is, I mean, people are going to be buying equipment, buying buildings, no matter what is going on in the market. So from your perspective, James, like what's going on in your world, man? Are you guys busting at the seams? Are you guys slow? What's up?
Well, you know, good point. We are absolutely busting at the seams. The nice thing about being an independent, Chris, is that we kind of play by our own rules. We don't have 10,000 shareholders that we have to answer to on a daily basis. Mm-hmm. We're a privately held company and a direct lender. So the way we see this is, you know, we expect the bumps and dips in the economy, and we price everything accordingly. We absolutely anticipated a high at the peak of COVID, and with every high comes a low. Mm-hmm. So we've anticipated this freight recession, and with freight recessions come an increase in delinquencies and 30, 60, 90-day holds. And this is just how it goes in the transportation market. Sometimes it's good, sometimes it's bad, but we don't stop lending in the bad times.
Yeah, and that's one thing, because, you know, it's funny because we it's probably been close to a year now, so it make it sound like it was yesterday, but like we switched to a small regional bank in the Twin Cities in Minnesota, and is, you know, that was kind of their similar sentiment, right? Because it was like, they were a lot easier to work with, and they were more like, I don't want to say, like, obviously we did the right things to like build up our P&L. Like we had all the right supporting documents for them to give us, you know, a line of credit and everything like that. But that is why, one of the reasons why I personally, as a small business, wanted to work with a smaller lender from that perspective is like, they're not going to rein in credit, right? Like I'm actually listening to, I'm just about to finish up Steven Schwartzman's book. It's called What It Takes. He's the founder of Blackstone. And he was talking about back in 2008 in the book about how all these major lenders, everybody reduced their lines of credit.
Right.
Very few credit got extended out there. And he used a specific example how he had worked with JP Morgan Chase for a very long time. And he had a phone call with Jamie Dimon. And he talks about this in the book. And he was like, I called Jamie Dimon and said, why are you reducing our credit? Like we have this extent, like we have a solid financial relationship. We've worked well together over the last 20 years. And Jamie Dimon said, the only reason we didn't revoke all of your credit is because of what we just said, what you just said right there. So it's like, that's kind of like, those are those real things that, you know, goes into people's.
Yeah. Often it has.
Go ahead. Did I lose you, James?
Yeah, often it has nothing to do with a little bit of a connectivity issue, but I think it's sorted out now.
Okay.
What I was going to say is often it has nothing to do with the financial merit or the credit of the actual company in question that the bank is withholding funds on. It's often just the overall economy, their risk portfolio, external factors to the related company.
Yeah. And those are, you know, and again, you guys read books, right? Because there's a lot of great information out there. And if you guys don't know who Blackstone is, like they're kind of a big deal. And if it happens to
Kind of a
them,
big deal.
yeah. If it happens to them, it happens to everybody, right? And that's why it's like, I think, you know, these times that we're kind of going through right now, James, are very, it's a big educational piece, I think, for a lot of individuals who are looking to learn in these environments. Because at least from my perspective, the only time I learn is when things are wrong and tough and bad. I very, very rarely learn when things are good, you know, and I think like it's kind of indicative of a lot of people out there, and why we're in the situation we're in right now is when money is flowing, you want to think that it's always going to remain that way. And, you know, that's just not the case. And, you know, to hear even the larger companies that are out there, they're dealing with this as well. But again, like this is the benefit of working for a private lender and a smaller company like yourself is like you said, man, we don't have a bunch of people we answer to ourselves, and we're the ones deciding who we want, you know, the risks that we're going to take. We don't have to go call our mom and dad and say, can I go to Timmy's house this weekend?
Well, you know, the reality when you're working in one industry like we do primarily, I mean, over 95% of what we do is in trucking. You have to anticipate the dips and bumps. We don't have the luxury like most other lenders of saying, okay, well, you know, transportation's not doing well right now. Let's go focus on aviation or construction or manufacturing or whatever it might be, any other industry that might be booming right now. We don't have that luxury like a lot of other institutions do. So we have to ride this out, and we have to work with our customers in order to ensure their success in the long run.
Yeah, because I was thinking about this morning before our call, and I was just like, man, I think that this is like there's never a perfect time to start a business, right? But there's a lot of people out there. There's a lot of drivers out there right now who are driving for another company who are like, man, I want to go out there and do this on my own. I want to go out there and take a shot at my American dream or Canadian dream, or, you know, and I want to go out there and make this happen. Or there's a business out there that has 5 trucks or 10 trucks. And they're like, I want to expand. I want to double down right now, because a lot of people are playing scared. A lot of people are in defense. And this is the times where, like, as uncertain as it seems out there, this is the time when this is your greatest opportunity for growth. It really is. And it's like, this is why people need to hear it, you know, from you. And this is why I have James come on the show as much as I do, is I know that there's a lot of people out there who don't know who they can reach out to, because they've probably heard from their bank, hey, we're not extending any more credit right now. Like, there's too much volatility in the market. You have what you have, and that's as much as it's going to be. And this is why they need to talk to individuals like yourself or others out there who are still lending and are not as afraid to like just fucking make it continue to happen no matter what's going on.
You know, the old adage is true. Tough times make tough people. And this is absolutely a tough time.
Yeah.
And it's an opportunity for folks to flex. And the only way you can flex in any business is by having the proper amount of financial literacy. And folks like me and whoever else you're dealing with from a lending perspective should be instructing their customers and clients as to the right amount of financing and where your ratios should be landing and what you need to do in order to be successful. Having the right team behind you from a lending perspective, and accounting and tax perspective, this is your team and they should all be on your side.
Yeah, it's so when you say ratios, what do you mean by that for the people out there who heard you say that and they're like, what are you talking about? Is it like their debt ratios? Is it their debt to credit extended ratios?
Yeah, correct. So there are several ratios that go into making credit decisions, and we can walk any client through the more important ratios that we're looking at when we're making credit decisions. And it's different for every institution. The weighted factors that they will give one ratio over another differ from lender to lender. But we can walk every client through where they could improve their ratios in order to improve their lending portfolio, which ultimately improves the rate that they're getting from their institutions.
So could I do like a debt consolidation with you, James? Like say I have two trucks financed through two separate companies and then my trailers are financed through different companies as well. Would I be able to talk to you and be like, hey man, I want one monthly payment. I don't want to pay four separate financial institutions here. Do you guys do stuff like that?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm actually in the middle of one right now. It's a little bit of a larger project, refinancing. Um, I think it's 85 or 90 trailers for
Okay.
one company. They have multiple lending institutions and they want to both consolidate debt and take out an additional line of credit and have a cash injection to their business so that it improves their debt to equity ratio. So they hold that cash on their books. It improves a couple of their ratios, in turn allows them better lending in the future.
Now, and that's I think very key. What people could be looking at right now, James, is it's like how do we clean our books up right now for the future, for when the market improves and your revenues go up and you want to double down back then, or maybe at that time you're looking to liquidate equipment or whatever your plan is it's like you got to work with people to have a plan for when this stuff happens because like you're talking about 85 trailers, right? Like that's a good sized operation right there. How many other trucking companies are in that position right now where they're hey, I want to have one lender. I want to reduce my lenders. I want to clean up my debt ratios. I want to clean up my books for when things improve, then I can reallocate funds and then really take that next step financially to grow and scale your company, right? Because it's like I think that's what is one of the hardest lessons to learn in business, James, is it's that financial literacy thing is because it's like you get these introductory APRs from people, or I mean, dude, everybody out there gets an email or a thing in the mail from a credit card company every single day about how transfer your balance here for 0% for 12 months and all of that. And it's enticing at the time, but it's like, is it the right move for you today? Or is that going to benefit you in the next 12, 18, 24 months? And that's how I think a lot of people need to be approaching this time.
You know, I have the pleasure of dealing with a lot of different trucking companies from a very wide and diverse range. Everyone from owner operators to large size fleets with 500 plus trucks. And the reality right now is that there are still folks out there who are being extremely aggressive. They've seen the stagnation of freight rates over the last several months, but they've also seen the cost of equipment come down massively and drastically over the last 2 quarters. And so they're taking advantage of that, planning a 5-year strategic plan in order to meet their objectives. And we work with them in order to do that. It's really fun to work with folks who want to work on a long-term objective and help them get there.
So is this something that, you mentioned, fleets of all size, right? Like say I am that 5-10 truck fleet owner and I want to expand out to 50 trucks or 100 trucks over the next 5 years. Can I come to you and have that conversation? Because I've never done it before and I want to put a plan in place to make that happen. Are those conversations that you guys are having?
Every day.
Simple enough there. Yeah, because again, is like you're talking, I read, I do read, you guys. I promise. I read a lot of books and I listen to a lot of audiobooks and podcasts, and the individuals that I'm listening to, James, that have built like real verifiable businesses that are worth 10-figure level businesses, they all have mentioned this over the last 6 months. Is they're like, hey, as bad as it seems out there right now, like this is the time to act. These are those moments. He's like, you can't wait on this stuff because you have to get in there and make that happen now. He's like, it's scary as fuck when you don't have any money and but like these are the times that you got to throw everything in the kitchen sink at it to go on offense right now, because everybody's playing defense. Everybody, for the most part, is taking a step back and thinking we got to conserve cash. We got to do this. And I'm not saying be reckless, but like if you've never had a conversation with a lender right now about what James and I are discussing, like this is the time to have it. Because like I was saying, when we led in to the show, you guys, the feds are literally meeting right now to talk about what they're going to do with interest rates because of inflation. And, this is an article that we had that we chose today is from Fox Business, and they're expected to keep interest rates higher for a longer term amid inflation rising up there. And, because it says just a few months ago, Wall Street was confident that May would mark the beginning of a barrage of interest rates cuts by the Federal Reserve, but a string of hotter than expected inflation reports at the beginning of the year has poured cold water on those expectations. And then it goes on to say, despite evidence that economic growth is beginning to slow, the Federal Reserve isn't as close to cutting interest rates as they thought they might be at their last meeting in March, said Greg McBride, who's chief financial analyst at Bankrate. And he goes on to say, inflation has continued to run hot, and there is no compelling need for the Fed to cut interest rates until they're comfortable with where inflation is headed. So what is that like? What's your gut on inflation, man? Like, are they going to even touch interest rates this year? Is this going to be an election thing? And it's going to be closer to October, November. Like, what are your thoughts on that?
Well, initially, and as much as I don't like to, what I suggest is that this is what a soft landing looks like. When the Fed on both sides of the border initially went through the process of beginning to raise interest rates because inflation was at an all-time high, they talked about what a soft landing might look like. And so far, they have proven that this is everything they're intending to do is happening right now. The only thing that they didn't anticipate is inflation staying as high and stable as it has over the last 4 months. And that's why they're not raising interest or dropping interest rates yet. If they dropped interest rates today, they would be right back to square one by, probably middle of June or July.
Yeah, because it's saying right here that obviously they raised interest rates in 2022 and 2023 because inflation was at the highest, since the 1980s. And then it goes on to say most investors now expect the Fed to begin around September, but are penciling in just 2 reductions this year, a dramatic shift from the start of the year when they anticipated 6. Hiking federal rates tends to create higher interest rates on consumer and business loans, which then slows the economy by forcing employers to cut back on spending. Higher rates have helped push the average rate on a 30-year mortgage above 7% for the first time in years. Borrowing costs for everything from home equity lines of credit to auto loans and credit cards have also spiked. Stop buying so much shit, you guys. No, I'm just kidding. But that's kind of that's seemingly kind of what they're saying right there, right? Is it's like people haven't stopped spending because like that's another interesting point here that I've been kind of paying attention to, James, is like credit card defaults are like credit card lines are like maxed out as well. It's like at the highest rate in like ever from what I've seen.
They are, and I think what's happening is that the average consumer that has maxed out credit on their personal lines is making minimum payments, and when they can no longer make those minimum payments, that's when you will start to see the tide turn, so to speak.
Yeah, it's at 1.13 trillion dollars right now.
Mhm.
Just the last report from earlier this year, and that the average credit card debt out there is in the state of Alaska at $7,000, and the lowest one out there is in Wisconsin at $4,800 out there. It's because Miller Lite's so damn cheap out there. They don't need to finance their Miller Lite in Wisconsin.
No, and I think a lot of it has to do with the hipsters not being able to live without their avocado toast.
Oh, that's funny, man. But yeah, you guys just keep up on the interest rate stuff here on the Fed, with the Federal Reserve, because I think it's going to be kind of telling about where financing and lines of credit and everything are going to be going over the next couple of months. I mean, you can go anywhere. I chose the Fox Business article on there, but every major news outlet is reporting on that right now as they're waiting for Chairman Powell to talk about that. But let's roll that into another article here, James, from fleetowner.com, and that Class 8 order activity plummets out there. And orders for Class 8 units have dropped significantly in the last month. Both firms, that's FTR Transportation Intelligence and ACT Research, preliminary findings noted that March's net orders were down compared to February and March of 2023. Despite weakness in the markets that have persisted for more than a year, fleets continue to be willing to order new equipment. Eric Starks, who's the chairman at FTR, said order levels in March were below the historical average, but remained in line with seasonal trends. Demand is not declining rapidly, but neither is the market doing significantly better than replacement level demand. And you were talking about that, James, out there is since equipment prices have dropped as much as they have, is this is when people are stepping up their orders and everything else. So with that, I mean, with it kind of dropping out there, but like, are you seeing that, like that trend is it's holding kind of steady from the overall averages and stuff from equipment purchasing?
Well, what I could say is that nothing about any of the articles that we're talking about today are shocking at all.
Yeah.
We anticipated the Fed keeping the interest rates where they are, and probably will for the foreseeable future. We anticipated Class 8 orders coming down drastically from 22 and 23. I think what we're seeing right now is a rebalancing. This is what is supposed to happen when you have an all-time high of orders and prices. You're seeing a rebalancing of the equipment market now. Orders still need to happen. Companies still need to replace their aging fleets. So you will still see the orders come in. But for manufacturers to drop from, essentially by a third of their expected production lines this year is not shocking in the least.
So, how much is the liquidation of Yellow's equipment? Because like I was just driving through Las Vegas a couple weeks back, and there's like the entire speedway out there is full of Yellow equipment out there. How much is that going into play where they're buying the generally used equipment that is out there as opposed to new orders, where it's still an upgrade from their current equipment per se?
Candidly, I think it's impacting the price of equipment slightly. I don't think it's got an overall economic impact that will be long term. These things happen in the economy, and the ratios like the load to truck, load to trailer, spot market rates, contract rates, all of these things are normalizing now and balancing out. And so we will continue to see this for the next several months until it looks like a normal economy again.
Okay. Yeah, it's and then it goes on to finish up this article talking about the returning to seasonal lows, and that according to ACT data, March was the first month with seasonally adjusted activity below 20,000 units since May of 2023 for FTR, in the first month with below 20,000 units since August of 2023. And then FTR noted that before March, the last 3 months maintained an average order level of about 27,000 units. And then according to both firms' data, Class 8 order activity rose sharply from the second half of 2023 in the first months of this year. Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see, man. And, that article, you guys, was from fleetowner.com, and that it was Class 8 order activity plummets out there. But, I think that there is, I don't want to say people are like, blowing the alarm or raising the alarm over the top right now, because it is uncertain times for a lot of people, right? Like there's people who are going through very challenging economic times out there. And some of this information that we continue to see being released out there, though, yeah, it's a point, but it's not everything, right? And back to what we were talking about earlier, James, is you guys are talking to people all the time who are building their business right now, who are reinvesting, they're buying new equipment, they're doing it because they're sticking to their plan regardless of what's going on in the economy. Yeah, they might have made some adjustments, right? But they are sticking to their 5-year plan, because there are, for as many people out there who are raising the alarm of, oh my gosh, what are we going to do? There's just as many people out there who be like, I've been here before. I've been through way worse than this. I'm sticking to my playbook here, and I'm going to continue to do me and execute at our level for the next 5 years, because they know it's going to recover. They took the necessary steps when the market was up. They played that out perfectly, right? And I remember reading an article and it was talking about Knight Swift, and how Knight Swift liquidated a shitload of their equipment when the market was high, and they made like $40 million or something like that at that time. And they just stuck, and I don't know what they did, but I'm assuming they held on to that cash until all that equipment prices dropped back down. And then they were buying trucks at probably a 2-to-1 ratio compared to what they were selling at their peak.
Yeah, I mean, there are companies who did that in 2023. It's not regular business practice. If you can manage it with your fleet and not lose business, then it's a phenomenal way to make money. We call it gain on the sale of assets, and typically in a depreciating asset, you never gain. And so anytime you can gain on the sale of an asset that it should be depreciating but has appreciated, it's almost unheard of. So for Knight Swift to walk away with $40 million that is not typical revenue is genius. I mean, it does happen, and we did see it a few times in 22 and 23 when prices were at an all-time high. But that's not a normal business operation, and nor should you count on that ever happening again.
For sure, right? And I don't remember, I want to say it was around that dollar amount. I don't remember the exact amount. All I know is that it was a lot of money at that time. And, again, and I think that there's just another thing out there, man, about success does leave clues, right? Like, look at what some of these operations are doing right now and try and mirror that, right? But again, like, this is why you need to go and talk to a guy like James, who's doing this for other companies, so you can put a plan in place, right? Because like where we are right now in the market, yes, it's going to get better, but we're going to be in a similar position than we are right now at some point down the road. So why are you not planning for the next 5-10 years and have a playbook out there about how you can operate and what steps you can take today to ensure that when we're here again, when we're in the next downturn, or whatever market we're in, you're almost operating your play no matter what. And you're strategically, stashing cash, paying off debt, debt consolidation, whatever that looks like. If you don't have a plan, if you can't answer and say that I've talked to my CPA, I've talked to my lenders, I've talked to all of them in the last couple of months, you need to get on the horn. You need to talk to your people, or you need to call James and get this in line, because there's so much of an opportunity right now to put your playbook together for the next 3 years.
100% agree.
Well, dude, that's it, man. We're at our 30-minute mark here, James.
Goes faster every time.
I've been told that. And but, hey, man, how does anybody reach out to you though to find out more if they want to, talk about debt consolidation or putting a plan together about how they can get their finances in order in their business?
Yeah, reach out to me on LinkedIn, James Courier, or james.courier@finlock.com. Happy to field any questions. And candidly, every time I do your show, Jolly, inevitably I get a few people reach out and ask a few questions that they may normally not have asked.
I love it, man. And dude, that's what it's all about, right? Like we got drivers, we got shippers, we got brokers. Everybody pays attention or watches this show, man. And again, I just want to put information out there that people can apply to their business and learn and stay in business, most importantly. But we'll be back tomorrow, you guys. I got a solo show tomorrow. I'm flying to Nashville tomorrow night, and I'll be out there meeting with my friends over at SPI Logistics. You guys, it's who my brokerage is through. They're longtime supporters of the show, and we're going to be going live Friday morning on that. Also, you guys, if you subscribe to the newsletter as well, it comes out every Friday. Just go to thefreightcoach.com and check it out. I appreciate you guys. I love you guys, and we'll be talking to you soon.